Welcome to Fierce Planet Adventures. We're a couple on a mission to live a life full of outdoor adventure, purpose, and passion through self-mastery and personal challenges.
I do not want cancer to define who I am. This is an opportunity for us to be able to wipe a type of cancer off the face of the earth.
Today, we'll be speaking with Jay Middleton. Jay was diagnosed with neck and oral cancer caused by HPV at the end of 2019. After enduring a 5-hour surgery and 6 weeks of near daily chemotherapy, Jay is rethinking his life and how he approaches each day. As a longtime athlete and lover of all things outdoors, Jay has spent the last 6 months trying to bring a focus to the power of being outdoors and the positive impact it can have on not only those fighting cancer, but everyone. Jay has also started a blog and Instagram page called Bikes Kill Cancer, where you can follow his outdoor adventures and fundraising endeavors for cancer research and prevention. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here. It's good to see y'all too.
Yeah, great to see you.
Likewise.
So just to start things off here, we'll ask, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, wow. There's a lot to be grateful for. I woke up and for whatever reason, I didn't sleep well last night. And I woke up at like 4 a.m, never could go back to sleep. So basically I started the day pretty grumpy, and I was able to do a reset. Got out on the patio, did about 40 minutes of what I call yoga. It's sort of a hybrid of just me moving around and trying to do some stretching and some core exercises. But it just sort of helped me reset for the day. And I guess the reason I'm telling you that is I'm grateful for that awareness. I don't think that I had the type of awareness of myself and my emotions that I did before my cancer diagnosis. And that might sound a little cheesy and a little cliche, but cancer puts a lot of things in perspective. And I'm just grateful that I was able to reset the day, and so far it's been a good one. Just been getting stuff done around the house and feeling semi-productive. So
Nice. You know, our last podcast was speaking with Catherine Devine Chapman, who is a yoga instructor. She's one of the head facilitators and co-author of Kokoro Yoga. And that's kind of the yoga we practice. So that was pretty awesome. So I understand exactly what you're saying when it comes to just kind of resetting the day and being aware, kind of a somatic awareness of what's going on with you mentally and physically. It's a pretty powerful practice.
That it is. You sound a little bit more disciplined than me. I just sort of, like I said, just get out there and flail around on the mat until I feel good.
That's awesome. Jay, we love to hear people's origin stories. Tell me about yourself. What were you like growing up?
Built a lot of forts, and just sort of got into trouble. Ran around general mayhem. Being a kid, it seemed like it was the best fun in the world. And I guess it probably was. So sorry, the cat just jumped in my lap. Parents were, my dad was a cop, my mom was a teacher. I was the oldest of 3 kids.
Were you always active in the outdoors, or was that something that came later in life?
As a kid, especially when I was younger, I think like a lot of young families didn't have a lot of money for extravagant vacations. So we would do camping vacations. High Falls State Park in Georgia is the one I remember. I think we used to camp at the beach, St. Augustine, when I was real little. I don't really remember that, just the pictures of that. But that's what, at some point, I guess after I graduated from college, I don't know. Maybe I just woke up one day and I was like, looked at my girlfriend's like, I want to go camping. And we had no camping gear. I think I had an old sleeping bag. And so we went to REI and bought a bunch of camping gear and went to a state park up in North Georgia to go camping.
Have you been just healthy and active your whole life? Did you tell me that you maybe spend a lot of time on the couch at one point?
So I, growing up, I played team sports, ran around out in the woods, ran around the neighborhood. So we were always out doing stuff. things. And then I think like a lot of people, I got to college, I discovered cheap light beer, the power of fried food, and was not near as active as when I was in college. I didn't play any team sports in college. I got out of college, and I was pretty overweight. I was a little bit over 200 pounds, which compared to now, I'm like 160 pounds. So there was a big 4-year gain there in terms of the LBs. And I just got uncomfortable in my skin after college, and I didn't enjoy it. And I had an old bike that I would ride around town and stuff, but I wouldn't really call it exercise. And at the time, my girlfriend got a mountain bike for her birthday, and I decided to buy a new one at that time, and just got hooked. It was at that point where mountain biking was really taking off, and there was local races every weekend, and I just stumbled into that culture and fell in love with it, and haven't looked back. I went from having one bicycle to a garage. I don't know how many we have in there now, 10, 12.
So it's late 2019. You're cruising along, get a diagnosis that you have cancer. Can you tell us about that part of the journey? Were there any warning signs?
Yeah, so the diagnosis actually came in 2019, but I have to go all the way back to 2018 when I first, hindsight in this case is 2020. I have to go all the way back to 2018 to near the end of the year. I don't remember. It was probably like October, November. I went in for my physical, and about that time I noticed a lump on the right side of my neck, and it actually coincided with us having a pretty bad sinus infection. Mentioned it to the doctor, and it's right there on where your lymph nodes are. And he said, let's get you on some antibiotics for that sinus infection, and just keep an eye on it. And antibiotics knocked out the sinus infection. The lump subsided. I'm not sure that it ever went away, but it got so small that I didn't really notice it anymore. I think if I remember correctly, if I put my fingers up there and pressed, I could sort of feel something, but it never hurt. And it just, it didn't alarm me. October of 2019, we had gotten back from a bicycling trip in Italy, and I got another sinus infection, and the lump, almost like it seems like overnight, just regrew, and again didn't hurt, but it was so large that it was noticeable. It's like an offset Adam's apple or something. I just did a teledoc appointment. Told the doctor I'd had this in the past. He gave me some antibiotics, and it knocked out the sinus infection, but the lump didn't go away. So happens I just had my yearly physical around that time. So I went in, told my doctor what had happened, showed him, he looked at the lump because it was still there, and he was, did that doctor thing where they go, and you're like, is that a good bad or just an indifferent Said, let's just get an MRI, take a look at that, and see if we can figure out what's going on. So did the whole MRI thing. He called, and he's like, probably wanted to have somebody else look at this. So he recommended a ENT over at Swedish Medical, and I went and saw Dr. Nemechek. He's my current doctor, one of my current doctors, and he did what's called a needle biopsy. And basically it's just what it sounds like. They take a long needle and they just jab you with it over and over again.
Lovely.
It doesn't hurt. I mean, it's a really thin needle. They numb up, put a topical numbing agent there, and I mean you just feel like you're getting poked a little bit. And they basically just poke out little bits of the area that they're trying to biopsy. And the nice thing about it, it's pretty quick. The bad thing about it is it's not super accurate because they're just basically just doing a bunch of jabs and hoping they get something. They got enough that they wanted to do some more biopsies, so I upped it up a notch to a ultrasound biopsy. And just like the ultrasound devices that they use when looking at pregnant women. Except this time they're rubbing me on the neck with this thing, and I could see, this is kind of interesting. You're laying in this or sitting in like a dental type chair, and they're putting this ultrasound device on your neck, and there's a monitor right there, and you can see this big dark mass, and then you can feel the pressure, but you don't really feel it because they've numbed up your neck, and then you can see this needle coming into the side of your neck as it enters this black mass, and they basically pull a little lever and it pops a little plug of that mass out, and they do that a couple more times, much more accurate. And that's where the final diagnosis came from, when they were able to accurately make sure that they were getting material from this lump on my neck. And so yeah, that was that journey just to figure out if I had cancer. At the time, I don't think I was like freaked out. At some point, and I don't really know, I don't remember the exact day or something, but at some point in the back of my mind, it just registered as like, I think I have cancer. And then so when the doctor called to let me know, it was, I wouldn't say it was shocking. It was, I kind of expected it. Definitely, gave
Kind
me
of a gut feeling.
Yeah. It definitely gave me pause, a lot of pause, but it was, I don't remember feeling like overwhelmed and incapacitated. I just remember going, yeah, I kind of knew that.
Where were you when you found out? How did you react emotionally? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I was at work, and I used to be a retail manager. And so we were getting ready to open the store. So I found out about 10 minutes before we opened the store. I was actually standing on the sales floor. I stepped away from the rest of the staff just to take this phone call. And again, I know I thought about it the entire day, but I just, there wasn't anything I could do about it right that second. My doctor didn't say, hey, you need to get in here right this second so we can operate. So he wasn't panicking, so I wasn't panicking. And I went home and went about my day. I do remember telling my wife Ashley that night, and that was definitely a little bit harder because not really because I was having to say that I had cancer, but I was having to look at her why I said I had cancer, and just seeing this cloud on her face and this dramatic rush of emotions coming across her was pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah. Was there any optimism from the beginning, or did you have to work at that or change your perspective in some way? In reading some of your blogs, it seems like you're really positive going into the treatment.
I think y'all both know me pretty well. I tend to be a pretty optimistic person. Even the most serious things, I try to find humor and add some levity to them. So I would say there hasn't been through the initial course of the treatment, like leading up to the surgery, I was very, very, very positive. Maybe overly positive when it came to the surgery thing. Like I had planned. So my surgery, maybe I'm jumping ahead with some questions here, but part of my treatment was what's called a bilateral neck dissection. And they basically, from behind my right ear all the way almost to the center of my throat, coming down the right side of my neck, cut me open, and they basically peel you open and removed a bunch of my lymph nodes, 18 lymph nodes on that side of my neck. My thought was that, okay, I'll get the surgery done. They're going to put some stitches in there. I've had stitches before. You can move around once you get your stitches in. You just can't bust them out or anything. I would be snowboarding in like a week or two. And the doctor and his team had to sort of do a reset for me. Like, hey, this is not as easy as you think it's going to be. And that's when I think some of the doubt and frustration came, when I was literally had to sit on the sofa for 3 weeks. And, you know, the doctor's words to me where he goes, if you were bored, then you are doing everything exactly right for your rehabilitation and healing.
It must have been really hard for someone like you.
Yeah, it was incredibly boring. It was, oh God, it is, yeah. And we were getting good snow in the mountains. It's just, yeah. So yeah, I mean, what a reason to be, you know, have negative thoughts because you're missing good snow. You know, perspective is that hopefully I'll be around for many, many more winters for many more good powder days. But
Right.
at the moment, it seemed like the worst thing in the world that I was missing, you know, huge dumps of snow.
Yeah. What was it like emotionally for you trying to tell the people in your life about this, and how did they react?
From very early on, I made the choice to be very open about it. My wife Ashley, she mentioned I have a Facebook account and I've had a Instagram account like everybody else does in the world, but I'd sort of weaned myself off of them. I didn't use them very often, and I decided to reactivate them, I guess, and really just started putting myself out there a little bit more, being a little bit more vulnerable. Casey, you mentioned my blog. I'm still sort of working on that one. I think I've only got 3 or 4 posts up there. Writing's not as, it's really easy to have thoughts in your head. It's really hard to get them down on paper so they make sense. You know, I'm so like everybody else, I'm used to living in the world of texting, and you know, it's like, oh, 160 characters, all my thoughts there on the screen. And now I was trying to be a little bit more coherent in these blogs, and that's been an interesting journey as well. But it's also been a nice way to unload some stuff and talk about things that or put things into coherent thoughts that sometimes just talking about aren't as easy to do.
Oh, for sure. So Jay, you've got your diagnosis and you've shared the news. Now you have to tackle your treatment head on. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I think y'all know this about me. Well, we already know this about me because we've already talked about that, is I love riding bicycles and I love being outdoors. And I've been, since my early 20s, have been racing bikes on and off for, so 25 years now, 26, 27 years. Sometimes a little bit more serious about it than other times. But when I do it, I tend to go all in. I write out training plans. I've even hired coaches before to help me write training plans and help keep me on track. I kind of approached cancer in the same way. I was like, what's my plan? What is my training plan? There's not much I can do during the actual day of surgery. I'm going to leave that to people who actually know what they're doing. I just need to show up and lay on the gurney so they can knock me out and operate on me. But I can show up in really good shape. And that's known not just for people who have cancer surgeries, but just in general, people who are in better shape tend to bounce back quicker from surgeries, from injuries, from illnesses. So I went in with the idea is that I was going to make sure that I was in good shape for this surgery. So I spent January, February, and March just being as active as possible, riding my bike, getting out and hiking, getting up to the mountains to snowboard as much as possible, and really just getting ready for that surgery so that I could bounce back as quickly as possible.
So thinking again about your treatment, what do you think were some of the bigger obstacles you had to overcome mentally, emotionally?
Yeah, so I mentioned that I was not a very good patient, so I had to learn to be a better patient. I had to learn to be patient. My mom, who's a wonderful person, she flew out here from Florida to be with me and my wife to a couple of days before my surgery, and she stayed for I think almost 2 weeks. And I'm not a very good patient. I'm grumpy. I don't like for people to do things for myself, even though I was not supposed to be doing things for myself. So just having to learn how to be dependent on others and be okay with that was a big hurdle for me. and then also listening to my body. You know, and when I say listening to my body, so before listening to my body before would be like, oh, I rode my bike or two days in a row really hard, or I did, you know, 3 days in a row of really hard workouts, and I better, you know, just take it easy today. That's one type of listening to your body. The other type of listening to your body is that your body is so beat down from, in my case, from this surgery and this treatment, that if you want to get better, and if you want to get better as quickly as possible, you have to be really attuned to what your body is saying. I have, in the last 4 or 5 months, have learned to really, really embrace the nap. I was never a big napper before this. Like even today, before I got on with y'all, I took a 30-minute power nap, put on my headphones and listened to my meditation stuff. You know, after surgery, I would get exhausted just sitting on the sofa and I would go upstairs and lay down. And eating was exhausting. It was painful. It was difficult, and it would wear the body out. So just again, learning to let others take care of me, or to help take care of me, and to listen to my body in a way that I'd never listened before. And so even once I was able to get out and start walking around, so a big accomplishment was I worked up to doing a 3-mile walk through my neighborhood, and I would come back so energized, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna crush the rest of the day. And I would have to take a nap for an hour or 2 hours, or just be okay with the fact that I couldn't do anything else the rest of the day because I had completely worn myself out.
You had mentioned that you had signed up for Ride the Rockies before the surgery. Was that kind of like a touchstone for you, kind of a goal to kind of see it, to focus on, to get you through?
Well, we had actually signed up before this whole cancer diagnosis thing came about. So it became a goal for me. I even hired a coach for a little bit to work with me while I was recovering from surgery, and then pre and radiation treatment. And it was going to be, and so Ride the Rockies got canceled because of COVID, and probably a good thing for me. I'm not sure. It would have been tough to have done 7 days of high altitude road riding that early in June, but it definitely was a motivating force for me. And I've had to shift some of my motivation since then. So I've been able to shift that into some fundraising that I've been doing, and I'm still planning on doing the entire Colorado Trail in August, and go down to Durango and ride back here to my house in Denver.
So how far will that be?
I think the mountain bike version is actually longer than the hike version, because you have to do some detours around the wilderness sections. I think it's like, I want to say 512 miles. I don't know why I have 512 in my head, but let's just say 500 plus. So about 50 miles a day on the mountain bike.
Yeah. How many days do you think they'll take?
We're shooting for 10, but we've built in a little bit of extra time there. For whatever reasons, there's a lot of things that can slow you down on the trail, just like when you're hiking. It can be weather, it can just be fatigue, get a little bit of upset stomach, hopefully nothing serious, but there's all sorts of things that can slow you down. Spend too much time just sightseeing, taking pictures, and the day gets away from you.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a bike packing as opposed to like a sag wagon support type thing?
Yeah, exactly. So mountain bike with this series of bags that attach on the bike. So one behind the seat, one in the triangle of the frame, and then one across the handlebars, and then some smaller ones to hold, snacks and stuff like that. Nice thing about the Colorado trails, there's a ton of resupply areas along the way. So you have to carry, several days worth of food, but it's not like you're having to, try to lug, 2 weeks worth of food all at once with you.
So thinking back to your time, Jay, when you were doing your bike racing and all the training, long distance training, do you think any of that that training supported your outlook or your mental state going into the therapy and the treatments? Because a lot of times folks will kind of use the training as a mental toughness building exercise.
Yeah, I think any good training plan has a set amount of routine to it, right? But no matter how structured your workout is, you've got to have flexibility within that workout, right? Because maybe some days you oversleep and you don't get your morning run in, or maybe the weather's really crummy and you can't get in that 4-mile or 4-hour ride that you had planned to do. So you have to have a certain amount of flexibility, and that's a mindset, right? And the same goes, at least for me, has been true for my actual treatment, everything from the surgery and the radiation treatment. Obviously, I didn't make the plan for my radiation treatment. It was given to me. And it's like Monday through Friday, you need to show up at 8:45 and we will zap you with this radiation. But there's still a certain amount of flexibility in one's mindset that you have to have, because the first couple of weeks of radiation are pretty easy. You lay down on a table, you don't feel anything. I mean, you hear the machine, you see the machine, but for the most part, you're like, this is pretty easy. As you move through, your body start to have side effects, and you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to compromise with your body. The first couple of weeks I could eat and taste things great, but after a while, I lost all sense of taste, or things would taste very metallic-y. So I had to be okay with just eating oatmeal and protein shakes. And you do that not because they taste any better than anything else that you're eating, but you do it because you can actually get them down past your raw throat. And you know that you need to do it because that's nutrition. If you lose too much weight during a radiation treatment, they often have to recalibrate everything. So I had to wear this special mask that held my head in place on the table for each radiation treatment. If I lost a certain amount of weight, they have to make me a whole new mask and recalibrate everything, because all of a sudden now I'm too small for the mask. So just having that flexible mindset is what I call it. And just at the end of the day, also a resolve that, hey, I'm going to get this done. And it's only 6 weeks. It's going to get suckier. It did get suckier. Is that a word? Suckier. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and each day you get a little bit closer to that light at the end of the tunnel.
Just out of curiosity, do you have meditation practice or breathing practices that you incorporate? It sounds like
it's about as good as my yoga practice, in the sense that I try. I have on my phone, I have I don't know, I think last count, I think I have 4 or 5 different meditation, relaxation type apps. And I'm part of the reason is I'm too cheap to actually just pay for the full-blown app. So, you can only do the free thing so many times before they get a little dull. But I try to pull little nuggets out of those, and whether it's a breathing technique. Actually, I've got my phone here. I'll tell you the one I really like in terms of, let's see, it's called Sport Performance by this guy named Glenn Harold. And he's a sports performance psychologist, meditation guy. But I really like, he just walks you through some very basic breathing exercises that are great in the moment, but also can be great when you're, if you're nervous, so you're, getting ready for a race, or maybe you have to go have a, talk with your boss or something, and you can just do some of these really basic deep breathing exercises. So to answer your question, no, but yes. I'm working on that, because I do see the benefits in them. I don't know. I keep waiting for like this chime to go off in my head where I hit enlightenment. and I don't know,
Waiting
maybe
for
that's
the
just
dong.
too much, yeah, a gong or something, too much Karate Kid or something as a kid. I don't know. I just, I'll get there though. I feel like, cause I've noticed the benefits. I've definitely noticed the benefits of the yoga and just the breathing and the moving. So I'm working there at my own pace and try not to beat myself up too much if I don't hit enlightenment every single time.
Right. We know you love being outdoors. What other ways do you find to spend time in nature?
I like to sit on my back porch and drink beer. My wife, Ashley, has done this incredible job with our patio. It's sort of a little oasis with plants. I'm actually looking out at it right now. We have this nice sunshade out there and a little propane fire pit thing. And yeah, I mean, it's just, there's just something nice just about just sitting outdoors when the wind's blowing, and at night when you got a little fire going. We spend so little time inside of our house during the actual summer months, the warm months. It's 95 today, so maybe a little bit more, but in the evenings it cools off really quickly. Besides my oasis on my back porch, really anything. Cycling's my first love, but I mean, I have just as much fun. Well, maybe not just as much fun, but I do enjoy getting out and hiking. Live right up here against the Front Range here in Colorado. So there's a ton of trails, 15, 20 minutes from the house. I love getting out on the lake, and I definitely don't call myself a paddler, but I just love getting out on the lake on a boat or a paddle board and just sort of goofing off and just watching the day float by. And then the winter times, that's all about the snowboard. So the nice thing about Colorado, you live in Denver, you can still mountain bike and ride bikes pretty much year round. But the mountains are only, an hour away to some just, world-class winter sports.
How much of that time outside in nature do you feel helps with your mental state, or has it also helped you in your recovery?
All of it. I mean, yeah, so I have, I know you know this, I have my Instagram page called Bikes Kill Cancer, and my little tagline is living my best outdoor life. And that's really when I'm at my best. That's when I'm having the most fun is just being outside. And it's, I have this goal of that page and my blog, maybe my YouTube channel, right? All the things that you have to have, and you want to help people see the light, so to speak, is that it will help inspire other people to get outside. There's a reason that Colorado has so many tourists. Is I think that I'm just going to pull a city out of my head. Let's say Houston, Texas, right? I'm sure Houston's a wonderful city, but I don't think that you get quite the inspiration or quite the recharge in Houston that you do when you're standing at 12,000 feet looking out across the Rocky Mountains. It's jaw-dropping. You might not be able to breathe because there's not very much oxygen up there, but it's still mind-blowing.
I'd have to agree with you there. Sure.
Jay, you had mentioned that you're not a very good patient, and you also mentioned that you did a pretty good job of putting your structure together, your training and recovery structure. Talk to me a little bit about how comfortable you were just letting go and leading on your support system.
Wow. Not very. And I think some of that is just frustration with myself, right? It's like you go from the day before your surgery to, other than the fact that I had cancer, being healthy. I mean, I felt great. I didn't feel like I had cancer. I was doing all the things I love to do. To waking up and having 2 tubes jammed up my nose, a feeding tube down I guess the feeding tube was in my nose, down my throat. oxygen in my nose, swaddled in bandages, oxygen masks on your face, and you're incapacitated, and it's so frustrating. And it's, getting up to, well, I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom for the first 2 days. And it's, I think for me, and I'm sure my mom and my wife would tell you that I took a lot of those frustrations out on them. And I came to realize that maybe not quite quick enough. But I also realized that I think it was really good that my mom was here for my wife. And so just being appreciative of having family that was able to not only rally around me, but rally around each other for support was a huge deal.
No, you did. How about work? Without getting too much into the weeds with where and who and what, how receptive what was your work environment to supporting and accommodating?
Yeah, so I don't have a job anymore. I'm gainfully unemployed. I not because my job was unsupportive, but because I realized that I needed to step away from my role as a retail manager to make sure I was taking care of myself. And I'm very fortunate. I was able to take 12 weeks of FMLA during the course of that treatment. In between surgery and radiation, I came back from work from a little bit right as COVID was blowing up. So I was actually just working from home, supporting some folks in our retail and our online teams. But then once radiation started, I went back on that FMLA. I originally, and so work again was very supportive. I think, it's just a great group of people that I work for, a great group of people that work for me, just incredibly supportive. I cannot tell you how many casseroles and how many soups and things that people brought to us. And we literally lived off of that stuff for like a month. I couldn't eat most of it because my throat was too raw, but my mom and my wife enjoyed it. And when it was time to go back to work, I was really excited to go back to work. And I quickly realized that it was the people that I worked with that I was excited to see, and not so much the work. And I don't have to tell y'all that the world has changed in the last couple of months with COVID, and my job had changed a lot. And it had changed to an extent that, again, that I realized that it was not good for my health. I don't think it was good for me physically. I don't think it was good for me mentally. The amount of stress that I was feeling at work and when I wasn't at work wouldn't be good for a healthy person over an extended period of time. And I just decided that it wasn't good as I am trying to continue to recover from my cancer treatment. And so I stepped down from my position. I've taken a sort of self-imposed sabbatical. This is day 2 of 7 weeks.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. So maybe I probably need to figure that meditation thing out so I can meditate on what I'm going to do next with my life. But I'm taking some of that extra time and that extra energy that I have now and putting it back into some fundraising, doing some things that I want to do. Again, riding the Colorado Trail is big on that list, and just really taking some time to reevaluate my life. And not to say work's not important, but work is, I don't, there's too many people who for them work is the end all. And there's a lot of things I enjoy doing outside of work that I would rather spend more time doing.
Tell us where you are now. Is considered in remission? What's your prognosis looking
I'm
forward?
in what I call the to be determined stage. So at least I'm not an expert on any type of cancer, but at least in terms of my cancer and my treatment, there was a lot that went on in terms of surgery and radiation in my neck and oral region. And so that area is still pretty inflamed and still healing. So we could, stick a camera down into my sinuses or the back of my throat. You would be able to, even as a non-medical person, would be able to tell very quickly that, wow, that throat is raw and is healing. Hopefully, is healing. So there's a lag, about 100 days, 3 months, I guess, before they can do any additional testing on me to make sure that the cancer is in remission. So I will have in early September go back in for some blood work, and then what's called a PET scan, which is just you take all your pets with you and you get on a table and PET scan is basically a super fancy CT scan of your body. They inject you with a radioactive isotope that mimics sugar. Cancer likes to hang on to or cling to sugar. So the cancer will latch on to this isotope, and it will, if I have any left in me, it will light up. So the goal is not for me to light up.
How has this diagnosis changed your outlook on life in general, or just overall?
I guess, I've written this down. I don't know if I wrote this in the bio that I sent y'all, but I've written it down. I say it out loud to myself or to people sometimes when I'm talking to them. It's like, I do not want cancer to define who I am, but I will also acknowledge that cancer has definitely caused me to hit pause and rethink a lot of the things in my life and rethink what's really important to me. My wife Ashley and I are sort of going through that right now and just trying to just figure out what's sort of next for us. Like we live here in Denver in a townhome. It's just the two of us and our 3 cats, but it's 4 bedrooms. I mean, we don't need 4 bedrooms, right? I mentioned earlier, we spend most of our time out on the patio in the summertime. Like, do we really need a big living room and a big dining room, kitchen table and stuff that we never sit at? We basically, our dining room table is designed, we use it to hold our keys and the cats sit on it. So just trying to sort of rethink some of those, what's really important in your life. And I think like a lot of people sort of dabbling with the idea of maybe we should buy an RV and live on the road, or maybe we should be in a tiny home, or, what can we do so that we don't have to work full time, but still, have things that we, have to have, like medical insurance. And, we definitely haven't figured that one all out yet. And I'm not sure that you ever figured it all out, right? But you definitely start. I think y'all are a good example of that. You start and find things in your life that are important, that give you motivation, that give you energy, and you start moving in that direction. And as you move in that direction, you might find yourself, shifting or taking another turn. But I think that the important thing is that awareness piece, right? It's like, is this still making me happy? Am I still moving in the right direction? And we're just getting started on moving ourselves in the right direction.
Tell us a little more about your efforts to give back and bring awareness of HPV to others.
So let me back up a little bit to after I had my surgery. I started my Instagram account, and I think my first blog, I did like one blog entry that sat there for months. And it was called Bikes Kill Cancer, is called Bikes Kill Cancer. And a good friend of mine, Danielle Quigley, who made this awesome hat. I'll see that.
Very nice.
She came up with this just incredible logo of this unicorn riding a bicycle for me to use. And at some point I was like, man, we should turn this into a sticker. So she redesigned it a little bit, and she did this great little sticker design. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if anybody wants to buy these stickers. I'll charge $2 a piece for the stickers. That covers, the cost of the stickers as well as the cost to ship them to people. And for every sticker I sell, I'll give 50 cents to Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute, which is out of Tennessee. And little known fact, y'all know who Sarah Cannon is?
I do not.
No.
I'll give you a hint. She was on Hee Haw.
Is that right?
You know who it is now?
Hee haw.
Yeah, well, that's the show. And she was in the Grand Ole Opry, Minnie Pearl.
No way.
Okay.
That is
Mini
that is
Pearl, I
yeah.
know.
So the
Okay.
real Sarah Cannon, who just pretended to be Mini Pearl, was quite the sophisticated socialite, but she was stricken with breast cancer, and she was so grateful for the treatment that she received at the hospital in Tennessee. I think it was in Memphis, maybe in Nashville, probably in Nashville, that she started this Sarah Cannon fundraising, and it evolved into this. They're nationwide. They're renowned for their cancer treatment. Anyway, they're affiliated with Swedish Medical, where I received my treatment. So I was like, I'll just give 50 cents of each sticker to the Sarah Cannon Institute. Super easy to do. You can do it through the American Cancer Society website. And I was thinking, I had 50 stickers printed. So I was thinking, oh, $25. That would be, cool, $25 to give. It'll be something fun to do. Well, I put up the post on Instagram and on Facebook, and within 20 minutes, I had to order 100 more stickers. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. I had to order 200 more stickers. And since then, I've donated, I shouldn't say we, because everybody has bought the stickers, $400 to Sarah Cannon. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That was, it wasn't that hard. I mean, the hardest thing was writing out all the addresses on the envelopes. And so that just kind of motivated me. And my doctor, my ENT, Dr. Nemechek, well, I was talking to him one day about this sort of desire to do more, to try to give back. And he says what he sees in a lot of his patients, cancer patients, is as they come out of the other end of their cancer treatment and hopefully are in remission, is a deep sense of gratitude. And that's, I mean, that just nailed it on the head for me. Is I just feel a deep sense of gratitude. I can't even begin to tell you how incredible those medical providers at Swedish Sarah Cannon were, and then just the people some of the people that I've met during my treatments. I used to call him the 9 a.m. guy until I actually learned his name. But I was 8:45 a.m. radiation treatment. Dave was the 9 a.m. guy. And just hearing his story and watching his struggle and the strength that he has to have to go through his treatment. I mean, he's had the surgery, he's had surgeries, he's on chemo, he's had radiation. I mean, mine looks like a walk in a park compared to what he's going through. And yeah, I want to make a difference. I don't want people to go through that. I don't want my family to have to go through that. I don't want my loved ones. I don't want friends to go through that. It's hard. Obviously, it's hard on the cancer patients, but it's hard on the families. And so I'm just starting to look for ways that I can give back. The next thing I'm doing is a friend of mine out in Seattle reached out to me, and he does this ride every year called Ride, which is put on by the Fred Hutch Cancer Center in Seattle, big fundraiser for them. Their main corporate sponsors cover all the cost of the ride. So all the money that's raised goes right to cancer research. They, this year, can't do the event live because of COVID. So this year they're doing a virtual event across the United States, I guess across the world, if there's people outside the United States that want to do this, that you basically choose your own adventure. You commit to doing a ride or a run or a paddle, and then go about raising money. And so I'm going to be riding from my house here in Denver up to the top of Mount Evans, which I guess is our closest 14er. It's also paved all the way to the top, and then I'll be riding back home. So about 110-mile round trip to raise money for the Fred Hutch Cancer Center. And it's just kind of blew me away. So I set a goal for Team Bikes Kill Cancer of $2,000 with, a month and a half to raise that. And I was like, people tend to want to give, or it's a little bit easier to ask people to give money if maybe they can get something out of it. So I started reaching out to local businesses, breweries, different bike businesses here in Colorado, reaching out to some friends in other parts. Raffle. And so when you donate, you get entered in the raffle, and we hit our $2,000 goal in about 10 days.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And so that's what I'm working on now. Still raising money. We're just because we've hit our goal, exceeded our goal, doesn't mean that we won't take donations. But we also have more sponsors coming on board. I just found out Breck Brewery is donating some swag for us. Some more local restaurants, some other local breweries. Guanella Pass Breweries is in. Ove Negra, which is a bike packing gear company. So it's going to be fun. We've got some cool stuff to raffle off. My friend Danielle Quiggs and Rado, she's doing a custom hat for us. So it's going to be a good time. I mean, we're going to try to stream some of the ride live, depending on internet connections and whatnot, on top of Mount Evans. And then we'll do a live raffle either probably the day before, maybe the day after the ride, to raffle off all this stuff to our donors.
Great. So what's the best way for someone to support right now? Is it through the Obliteride? Are you still doing the
Yeah,
stickers?
so the easiest way to do it is it's because it's easier to remember. Just go to Instagram and search Bikes Kill Cancer, and that should pop up pretty quickly. And then in the bio, there is a link to the Obliteride donation site, and you can donate directly to Team Bikes Kill Cancer. And I guess I should also mention this year's Obliteride, they're splitting the donation. So half of the donations are going to go to cancer research, and the other half are going to COVID research.
Is there what's the website for your blog?
I don't have it memorized, but it's through WordPress, and it's again, if you just Google Bikes Kill Cancer WordPress, it should pop up. There's not a lot of Bikes Kill Cancer sites out there.
I think so. We did have one last question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to others battling cancer and to those supporting a loved one battling cancer?
Yeah. So I'm going to interject some advice to, because everybody loves advice from someone who's not a parent. So parents who love advice from people who aren't parents. So this is me giving parents advice. If you have young children, make sure that they get that HPV vaccination. HPV is, again, there's over 100 different types of the virus. It is the most commonly sexually transmitted disease in the United States. And it also has the ability, some of the strains of it, to cause cancer. And you, as a parent, do not want to sit and watch your child have to go through some type of cancer treatment in their life. So please, please, please get your kids vaccinated. It's a safe vaccine. Don't believe the crap that's out there from these anti-vaxxers. This is an opportunity for us to be able to wipe a type of cancer off the face of the earth within a couple of years. Think about what we did as a society to eradicate polio. We could do the exact same thing with cancers caused by HPV. For people who have been diagnosed with cancer or getting ready to start their cancer journey and their treatment, I would say find those things in life that give you joy and strength. We've been talking about this. I'm a big believer in the outdoors, and that can come in a lot of different shapes and forms, whether it's just a walk in your neighborhood, or a hike up your local peak, or just sitting in a hammock between two trees. I feel like the power of nature to help us heal is untapped, and we still don't even completely understand it. We know that there is a lot of benefit from being outside, but it doesn't really come with any side effects, right? It's not like you're not going to overdose on outdoors. And I would say Also, make sure that you use the support groups around you, whether it's friends and family. There's a lot of great resources out there. Most of the local hospitals, if you're receiving treatment there, they have support groups. I was talking to my doctor about this, and this to me just explains or just demonstrates how much smarter women are than men. You think back 20, maybe 30 years ago, nobody talked about breast cancer. Women were smart enough to come together and empower themselves to say that we need to be doing more. We need to raise awareness about breast cancer. And we talk about breast cancer. They even have license plates with breast cancer logos and tags on them now, because women were smart enough to open up and to reach out to each other and support each other. Men don't do that quite as well. We need to do a better job of putting ourselves out there, being a little bit more vulnerable. Cancer is not a time to sit around and play the tough guy and try to be heroic. It takes a lot of energy, both physically and mentally, to move through that journey and to heal correctly. So I would say to those men out there who are dealing with cancer, open up a little bit and reach out to your friends and family and let them know that you need their help. And I guarantee you that they'll be happy to do that.
That's some pretty powerful advice. Jay, it's been great. It's been a great discussion, and thank you for sharing your journey with us. We'll continue to follow you on Instagram and Facebook. We wish you and Ashley well, and we'll continue to follow your journey.
Hey, best of luck to y'all. It was so fun to do this. So great to see and hear both of you. And I've been following you all on social media. So it just y'all look wonderful. You look like you were just having a great time doing this. So thank you for giving me a chance to help talk a little bit more about this. So much love, and I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. Y'all have a good one.
Be well.
You too.
See ya.